Hi, everyone. Thanks for being with us this afternoon. I'm Jenna Payne, and I'm the Federal Program Manager for the IRP-MS-1 Scope, Nuclear Energy Workforce Pipeline Gap Analysis. This is an opportunity we're really excited to talk to you about, not only for its importance in helping to address the growing demand for future skilled workers, but also because it helps weave in expertise from the social sciences along with those in nuclear energy. So with that, I'm going to hand things over to Drew Thomas, who's going to go into more detail on what this scope is all about. Drew?
Jenna. All right. The scope name is Nuclear Energy Workforce Pipeline Gap Analysis. As Jenna said, she's the federal POC, and I will be presenting today. The nuclear energy workforce is inclusive of a variety of different types of workers. And excuse me, hang on a second. Let me just make an adjustment here. And with several different career tracks spanning a variety of different education levels. Those could include skilled labor, technicians, operators, engineers, chemists, scientists, and more. And those diverse workforce pipelines feed to industry or current power generation, advanced reactor developers, national laboratories, universities, and others. And you'll notice that I put more here because the variety of different workforce pathways are pretty diverse when we talk about the nuclear energy workforce in totality. There are some current trends that many of you are probably already aware of. There's been kind of this wave of upcoming retirements that has been an issue over the past 10 years or so in the nuclear space. And I borrowed this graph from NEI that shows the projection in the 2003 timeframe, which is the blue line, and now the 2019 trend line. So you can see over the past 10 to 15 years how the age distribution, at least on the utility level, has changed quite drastically. The 5-year projection for both retirement and non-retirement attrition is significantly higher in nuclear than in other key energy workforce jobs. And those rates average between 21 and 26% overall. Retirement rates have finally decreased in 2019, but non-retirement attrition has increased in the utility area by 10%. So you can kind of see there was this big wave that happened, and now there's a little bit more even distribution, but I want everyone to pay attention still to that big dip in kind of the mid-career range there between 42 and 57. That is a known gap in the nuclear energy workforce that's been known about for a while. This data is provided as part of the Gaps in the Energy Workforce 2019 pipeline survey results from the Center for Energy Workforce Development. So there is an influx of younger talent and younger employees, but the wave of retirements is not yet over. There are several challenges when we're talking about the nuclear energy workforce, and this is the context I want to give before I introduce the scope. Most current workforce data is focused on the utilities, and there's limited data on other Workscope areas. I'm talking about data from national laboratories, academia, advanced reactor developers, possibly future advanced reactor builds or the operations for advanced reactors, those types of things. So the data that I displayed before is utility data. And when we talk about consolidated data across the entire workforce, that is something that is a gap. So what we have issues with is really identifying what the overall workforce is. When you talk about nuclear energy workforce, and emerging workforce trends, which could include advanced reactor operations, small modular reactors, microreactors, and others. We still do need to understand the pipelines and how they are aligned with current trends and emerging needs. And of course, there's a need with the current data that we do have of a better understanding of what is possibly driving attrition in the nuclear workforce. And I mean non-retirement attrition. So the scope is rather broad, but what we are looking for is applications that identify existing and future gaps in the nuclear energy workforce. The gap analysis should explore all aspects of the nuclear fuel cycle, which would be inclusive of labor pools throughout. That can include everything from the beginning of the fuel cycle all the way to the end. So applications would provide DOE-NE with data and a comprehensive nuclear energy workforce development plan to address the identified gaps, identify challenges, identify needed resources, and recommendations for opportunities to create either non-existing or future needs when it comes to workforce pipelines. This scope requires collaboration with one or more minority-serving institutions, including historically Black colleges and universities or tribal colleges and universities. Successful teams will be made up not only of nuclear energy experts, but also individuals from the social science disciplines, minority-serving institutions with a focus on HBCUs and TCUs are encouraged to apply as lead applicants, and the IRP team must be comprised of multiple universities. And engagement with industry, national laboratories, or nonprofits for this area are encouraged. The award size is up to $3 million, and the project length is up to 3 years. And with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, we do have one question so far. Would an analysis and critique of nuclear engineering curricula, as well as a study of why individuals leave the nuclear engineering field, be appropriate for this work scope? The goal of this part of the analysis would be to inform how nuclear engineering as a discipline needs to reinvent itself in order to attract new students and demographics.
Although I think that could be an aspect of this scope, what we're really looking for the budget that we have is a more comprehensive analysis of the overall workforce. So although that could be a component, I think the ask here is broader than that, of being able to provide comprehensive data or projections or other things like that that could predict existing and emerging needs.
Okay, just as a reminder for attendees, please do go ahead and put your questions into the question answer feature of GoToWebinar, and I will be glad to ask them here in the room. Here's one more question so far. DOE recently stopped supporting university health physics and radiological sciences programs by no longer sponsoring the free availability of various softwares, including MCNP, SCALE, and other radiation transport codes that have a very important role in the health physics research and education. These codes now cost upwards of $1,000 when obtained from RSICC. This is a substantial cost to students and faculty who have not yet substantiated grants. Let's see. Does DOE plan to reinstate the support for health physics, educational and research programs at any time in the future that you know of?
I don't have the answer to that question. So I think that can be potentially addressed later on, but I don't have a question. I don't have an answer right now for that.
Okay, next question. Is this a technical work scope?
So this is a work scope that is I would consider it technical, yes. It has a focus on the social sciences, which means that there are going to be social science components to the work scope. That what I can see in this work scope is that it will take an understanding of the nuclear energy environment, the current state, and also an exploration of several social science topics to be able to explore the overall gap analysis that we're looking for.
Okay, thank you, Drew.
Yep.
Would the Department of Energy be interested in an international dimension for this analysis? For example, workforce gaps in new nuclear countries.
This specific scope is focused on domestic workforce. So no, I don't think we'd be interested in that.
Next question. Thank you, Drew.
Yep.
How far into the future should this analysis extend? 2050?
That is a question that I'll leave up to the applicants. I think that's part of an exploration of the workforce and the environment and the emerging environment that's going to come. So I don't necessarily want to be prescriptive about an analysis to 2050 or shorter or longer timeframes than that. So yeah, make some justifications in your applications that you submit to the work scope area about how you're evaluating those types of projections and how far or how valid you think they are into the future.
Do you have any idea what kind of backgrounds you would want the reviewers of proposals to have for this kind of a call, both nuclear engineers and social scientists, or have you thought about that?
Yeah, we haven't gotten to the point where we're evaluating merit review teams or anything like that, so I don't necessarily have a comment in that regard.
For this work scope, are we encouraged to have a white paper accepted before the full proposal?
No, so these are integrated research projects, which means that they will be due in February of 2022, and they only require a full proposal. So there won't be any pre-application stage or letter of intent stage.
Okay, thank you, Drew and Jenna. I believe that is all we have for this particular work scope.